Beatdown Promotions 11 is happening July 5th. Let's talk about why you should watch it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event.
Live from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion.
Not even backstage, we're literally outside.
Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history?
Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Be good if the Aussie MMA Instagram page would give us a bit of glow up because we're
Welcome to the Australian MMA podcast. My name is Mitch Tinley. I don't know why I forgot that for a second. And today's guest is none other than UFC veteran Damien Beatdown Brown. He is the brains behind Beatdown Promotions in Queensland. It's a start of a show. They mainly take place at Eatons Hill Hotel. Their event, Beatdown Promotions 11. Beatdown 11 is on DAZN and it is on July 5th and it is headlined by Marwan Rahiki, the ever-surging Marwan Rahiki, fresh off a Hex Fight Series featherweight title win, taking on Gabriel who's an absolute stud himself. And the co-main event is for the unofficial dubbed by me the Australian MMA BMF title. I should just give them a belt. Maybe I will. Between Dimps, Skillies and Michael Barber. If you don't know who either of those men are, just go on YouTube them and it'll change your life. It's going to be the wildest fight ever. I'm very much looking forward to it and it'll be worth the price of admission. Now, Beatdown Promotions will be streamed, the undercard, on the DAZN YouTube channel and their main card on DAZN.com, I think it is. It's cool. It's a step up. Beatdown Promotions is always a great promotion. Has been there before as well. Damien Brown's always very open and honest about his thoughts, and he said things in the past and changed his mind, and he's very open about that. He never said he said he'd never have titles. He has titles. He never said he'd leave YouTube. He's left YouTube. There's heaps of stuff, but he's a man that always fronts up to any question I ask. I love having him on the show. Before we get into that, remember to check out combatsportsinsurance.au if you need any help with gyms and events and anything insurance related in the combat sports world. Of course, I want to thank our gym partners at DCA, home of Australian champion Anthony Julich and other aspiring athletes. And of course, Vex MMA, couldn't do it without them. Guys, remember, if you want to get issue 1 of the Australian MMA Magazine with UFC soon-to-be star Quillan Southfield on the cover. You can now get signed copies. You can now get signed prints. We did a big session with him the other day. It was really cool. You can see it on Australian MMA _. You can see him signing it. They got little certificates. It's cool. We also have, just heaps of copies with great stories. I'll be releasing a few more sort of sneak peeks throughout the week with it. But if you want to head to shop.australianmma.com.au. But guys, July 5th, Eatons Hill Hotel, streamed by DAZN. It'll be Beatdown Promotions 11. We're going to talk about it now, break down the card, why you should care, with none other than Damien Beatdown Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the show, the genius behind Beatdown Promotions. It's Damien Beatdown Brown. Welcome, mate.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be back. You've aged since last time, actually, I think.
It's 5:30 in the morning. It's
nice that you got up so early for me over there in WA.
I forgot to block that time out. I like interviews in the morning. It actually pumps you up and gets you ready for the rest of the day. It's switched on.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Mate. So look, July 5th, Beatdown 11. Can I add to it? On the website, you got Beatdown 11, but I feel like in social promotions, everything you post, you're not running with numbered events as much. Is that a conscious effort, or am I just not seeing Beatdown 11 as much?
No. All the posters have got Beatdown 11 on them.
Do they? I was looking at the ones recently, and they didn't where last time, obviously it was a big anniversary event, but I swear it was Beatdown 10. It was really big, and then before it was Beatdown 9. I thought maybe
it was Beatdown X, I think, is which was obviously 10, but X.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going away from that at all.
That's a great pickup. But no, we're not going away from it. I mean, all the captions, which obviously no one, including yourself, reads. All the captions say Beatdown 11. But yeah, we obviously haven't just promoted the number. But on the fight poster, the original one, it had Beatdown 11 on a couple of the recent ones. Like we put one up recently with the standing tickets or whatever. It said Beat the 11 was like a silhouette in the background, but it's just not. I don't know that we need to promote what event we're at. I don't. I just.
That's what I mean. Are you that type of guy? Like, do you like that sort of stuff, or is it because obviously you've done a few changes with images and I don't know, artistic direction, and obviously it changes a little bit each time as well with posters and poster design. But have you sat down and gone, "Oh, this is the way we want to go now," or "I want to go over here a little bit more"?
No, not particularly. I've got the way that I want to do things, but in terms of the art, I don't sit down and go, "Oh, we need to promote this number," or we don't. I mean, obviously, like every show, we probably specifically promote like Beatdown 10, like we did, or Beatdown 20, or like marquee events. I think every 10 shows is pretty worth celebrating. It's about every 2.5 years for most domestic shows, unless you're Eternal, you do like 10 shows a year. So you know what I mean. So they don't really promote. I mean, I'm sure they'll promote Eternal 100 like massively, but they don't really promote marquee events. It's more like they've got their double header at the end of the year. They've got their first show in February, which is usually in Perth. Like they promote like significant events, not necessarily marquee numbers. But I don't really. It's not something that I consciously think of. I just fucking usually just thinking about not losing money.
Do you look at like promotions like Eternal nearly doing 100 shows and you've done nearly 11 now? Are you like shit?
Man, I honestly just started out to do one show and I just fucking couldn't stop, I guess. Like I feel like I could have just ran a show in a PCYC and made 20 grand and just fucked it, like just left, and no one would think anything of it. But I went to a good venue and we promoted it well and we set it up properly. And I kind of feel like we put a lot of effort in for one show. You can't just back out after one. And now I'm 10 in and you can't back out now. So it's just sort of like it's happening now, it keeps going and it'll keep going until we can't do it,
Yeah.
Or maybe I want to live in Japan. I don't know. Just keep going. So yeah, but and Eternal's definitely they've led from the front. Like they've been the most consistent over the longest period of time. And I'm a fan. Like I like all their shit. It's pretty good.
Were there any promotions when you were coming up that you thought ran it the best?
Man, not really.
That's why you started on.
Not really. I think like, for a long period of time there, like Cam ran, I think it was like Rain, and there was another one. I can't remember what it's called. And then there was ex-UFC, which Justin ran, and then there was Brace, which Kaya ran, and they were kind of the shows, And then there was a few others that would come in. They'd come and go like in between. I can't even remember. There was Rochambeau.
Yeah.
There was a few shows that lasted until like they bankrolled their fucking house and then like realized they were never getting it back. And so Fight World Cup was around for a long period of time. So there was shows, but there was never really anyone kind of leading from the front. Like XFC was probably at the time around the longest. Probably had the best business model at the time. Justin was very particular and OCD and wanted everything to be perfect in terms of how he planned it. So, but I only fought for them twice. I fought for Brace a fair few times. I don't think anyone really led from the front. Everyone was just kind of like promoting at the time and giving people opportunities. Now there seems to be some kind of weird challenge for who's the number one promotion in the country. And whatever. I don't really get into that kind of stuff.
Sure you do. Deep down. Do you want to be number one?
No. Fuck that. Yeah, see how much fucking hair Cam's lost? Fuck no. You know what I mean? The guy would be under an immense amount of stress and pressure every single time he runs a show. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't watched his interview with you. Of course I have. Like the guy did a podcast in my house, so Um, he's right when he says like one bad show is a fucking nightmare, and it's probably a little bit less of a nightmare for him than it is for me, but it's every single time, and I can't imagine what amount of stress being the number one show in the country brings when you've got to run 9 to 12 shows a year across the country, and you've got fights. You've got to somehow sell out a show with fights of Melbourne versus Brisbane in Perth. What a nightmare. Fuck, I'm not interested, man, honestly. I just want to run my 3 or 4 shows a year and stay in my area.
Yeah, then you got me critiquing your show too as well.
Yeah, well, I actually did notice, I'd like to throw a bit of critique back to you. I did notice in one of your breakdowns the other day that you said maybe the best in Australia or maybe even the continent. And I'm pretty sure they're the same.
No, that is what we call in
in
media.
Yourself.
Yeah, no, that is because I'm right, but it makes it sound cooler, but I'm also not wrong because logistically and technically.
Okay. Well, you should probably put that out.
So
what you should do is you should clip what you said and you should put it out to the world and ask them if they are the same or if they are different. And I bet based on everyone's education, they will say that you made yourself sound cooler.
But you know what's funny about that? Either everyone that listens to me is dumb or no one listens to me. So there's
a small few that goes, he's got no fucking idea what he just said.
But that's not the first time.
It was sent to me. So there's at least 2 of us.
Yeah, I actually didn't even notice that until you just said that. Yeah. Well, because I can't,
No. You can't defend yourself. You can't defend yourself. You said the biggest in Australia or maybe even the continent. And I'm like, right, this guy skipped fucking grade 9.
I just realized that then, and I would have quoted that like not just on YouTube but like on Spotify. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Anyway, that one with you, but thanks for the critique on my fight show.
That is the game. No, it was funny. You even bring that up about Cam saying like, and then you saying like, as soon as you do a good show, even people are like, okay, where's the next one? Because I've got like a newfound respect for you guys, even after releasing like this Australian MMA magazine. Because as soon as people get it, they're like, cool. Now, when's the next one?
When's the next one?
And you're like, I nearly died making this. They're like, yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't care.
Well, and it's I don't know. I've never made a magazine, but I imagine like the time, the effort, the money, the print. I mean, if it doesn't sell, you've got however many magazines sitting on your shelf, dead money. If a show doesn't sell, it hurts. So like if you do them too close together, people are not going to pay. I mean, what's Cage Sided Eternal? $250 or something? Yeah. I'm pretty sure. It's like, fuck, how many times can you do it? Fortunately, they do Melbourne, Sydney, Perth. Well, mostly Perth and Gold Coast, but like they throw in some Melbourne and Sydney there, and then they've got the Logan show that they did recently. So, like, they do have some different. They're only running like, I don't know, maybe like 4 shows on the Gold Coast or something. So it's reasonable, but like, well, people want you to run like 5 or 6 a year in the same area. You're like, it doesn't make any sense. So it's hard to do, but you want to do it. So. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting spot to be in, but I'm happy running 3 shows in Brisbane.
And talk about, you've obviously gone from Brisbane to Townsville. That was a big sort of risk for you as well. In hindsight, looking back, will you return? Like, what's your thoughts on?
Yeah, we actually had a Townsville date. We just had to postpone it.
How come? Because Jack James wasn't available?
No. Jack James was available, actually. No, we just had some venue scheduling issues as far as like scheduling with other events in Townsville. So we just had to postpone it. So we are looking at going back to Townsville, but we also got a new location we're looking at as well. So we'll see what happens.
Where are you looking at?
Somewhere in Queensland.
Is it Cairns?
Nah.
Is it Southport Sharks and Gold Coast?
Fuck no. Well, I wouldn't do that.
Are there even good venues in Queensland?
I actually went to not the last Eternal card. the one before that on the Gold Coast. Yeah, I went and watched. Well, I specifically went down there and watched Declan Wolfenden. Um, that's what I went down there for. And a few of the other guys from Compton's, but yeah, I actually went to that card. It's pretty good.
Do you sit there and go, "Oh, boo, this fight's not even that good" to everyone around you? And you're like, "Oh, I've heard beatdowns are way better." Do you do that?
I did not do that. I'm not that guy. I'm an MMA fan, and I don't care what show I go to. I will support whoever. I don't ask for free tickets. I buy my tickets, and I support the community.
Now, mate, talk about your streaming rights partner, sponsor, whatever you want to call it. I love you saying we'll be on YouTube forever, never be off YouTube. So if you to jump on DAZN, there's obviously a reason for that. What jumped out at making that decision originally?
Look, I think my whole like I don't like the idea of a pay-per-view. I know you have to pay a subscription for DAZN. I understand that, but I don't like the idea of a pay-per-view. I don't think that like look, I get it. You need to kind of like make your money back. I don't think it does the numbers. I think you could ask any promoter, like doing a pay-per-view does shit numbers. Like it's some kind of like stretch to get money back. But I think the real value is in numbers and not the dollars that come back from a pay-per-view, but the numbers of eyes that are on your show. And I think YouTube does that. And I think that it's pretty underrated. And so that was my reason for it. You know, we're building a brand and we're building a business. I think at some point having like a streaming partner, whether it's streaming or it's fucking mainstream networks or like whatever, I think at some point having a streaming partner is probably important. But again, that came with, do you want to do subscription based or do you want to do pay-per-view? And I was like, I don't want to do pay-per-view. I don't want, I just don't think people are going to pay $35 for a card. So, but most people are paying for, Fight Pass or they're paying for DAZN or like if people are already watching like soccer, boxing, they've already got DAZN anyway. So, yeah, but it was just it was an opportunity that came up. We got it done. So I'm happy about it. I think it helps the product, it helps the brand, it definitely helps the athletes, and most importantly, it elevates the sport in Australia to another level.
Yeah, I also like that now there's like someone who handles media, and she's like, "Whatever you want, Mitch, I'll get it. Like we'll do that."
Yeah, she actually did say that there was a media guy that wanted to have a media pass, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And then she goes, "Australian MMA," and I was like, "Well, he obviously is up to something because he called me because he's got my number." And I was like, "So what's he want?"
Nah,
And she said, "This is a media pass." I was like, "Well, it's kind of weird that he didn't reach out to me, trying to cut me out."
Nah, I respect the process.
No, it was good. It was good. No, so she obviously works for DAZN and she's been an absolute dream in terms of like just managing the whole process. Like it's new to me, I'm about to be 11 fight shows in and we're meeting standards of, broadcast. Yeah. So we got timings and, most fight shows like that in itself, having to start a show, having to like have a crowd of 1,000 people entertain for an entire period of time and then manage the timings of your fight show so your main card and everything starts on time and you don't end up with like a 1 hour intermission in the middle is a big deal. So it's all been new, but she's been a dream to deal with, and she does a good job with the media guys as well.
Yeah. Do you like when you watch like an Eternal and say they do like a sick transition or something in the fight, are you like, oh cool, I'm gonna use that? Like, do you take anything from any of the shows you watch?
No, I fucking hate MMA. I think MMA does it wrong. I watch mostly boxing. When I say I hate MMA, I mean like from a MMA event point of view, I think MMA is still developing. And I think that it's important that I think the UFC have done it over time is that we look at what other sports do and do it well. And so I don't look at Eternal or Hex or Octagon or even the UFC to a degree and go, I need to do that. Because now I'm just doing what everyone else is doing. I need to be different. So I look at other sports or other combat sports in other countries and be like, how do they capture the crowd? How do they capture the views? How do they sell tickets? You know, so like that's kind of like what I try to do. I try to like look at other sports and then work out how do we elevate MMA to that level and how do I elevate beatdown to that level.
What's an example of that?
Obviously, I don't look at Football Australia because they can't pull a crowd. But I do. What's the what?
What's an example of like that you've seen in another sport that you brought over type thing?
Well, for example, like in other combat sports, like I obviously work for DAZN. You know, I think they do things well, and I know it's MMA, but they do kickboxing as well. They do some boxing stuff. I like that in terms of like not just broadcast, but in terms of the show, like our co-main event for this card is Dimps, Skillies versus Michael Barber. Everyone be like, oh, maybe those guys are not going to the UFC, but fuck, what a fight. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always about like making sure I can promote the best guy in the country. It's not always about making sure I can promote the guy that's one fight away from signing the UFC. I've got a business to run. So like, sometimes it's about what fighters give, who they are. Like putting two people together that won't take a backward step. Giving the guy that paid $70 for a standing ticket that's going to default on his fucking car payment next week because he wanted to watch some fights, giving him what he paid for, So looking at other combat sports and seeing what they do and, and then obviously having a mix of that. But, MCs, like all the way down to like the people that work the show, MCs from boxing are typically better than MCs from MMA unless you get to the highest level, right? So like most MMA MCs, because MMA is so young, everyone wants to have a crack. They offer their time for free. And so if you watch the local shows, you'll get some guys putting their time up for free. You want a professional MC. You want a guy that like is clean and sharp on the microphone. And so I think there's just like boxing does that well, so you look at boxing and you're like, oh, they do these things well. Like I just went to the Opataya fight recently. They do things well from a production point of view. They also did things that I would never buy a ticket for again. Like, it's like there's things you can take from everything. And I think that's super important. Not just to focus on like we run an MMA show, so we must only watch MMA.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I think, there wasn't real specific examples there from a broadcast point of view, but, the MC is a big one. Like you see like MCs can make or break a show. So having the right announcer is really important. I think, we fortunately have the announcer that works for Ace Boxing and he does a great job. And he's done every show except for one. So yeah, little things like that I think can make a massive difference.
And before we start talking about the card, what's the biggest lesson you've learned from starting to now?
Fighters are fucking needy, man. Eh? Like they're so needy and they're so unorganized. You got to appreciate one that's organized, but just like, and I obviously was a fighter, so I'm only criticizing myself, but they're just needy and you can't just expect everything to happen. The biggest lesson I've probably taken is just to make sure that you stay on people and you don't just expect things to happen. You got to be on the go all the time, and it probably also transfers across to like running a good show. It was easy to sell out the first one. It's probably easy to sell out the second and third one, but it gets harder and harder to sell out shows each time. And fortunately we've sold out 10 and, this one's no different. This one's going to be harder again. And so just being patient and staying busy and staying proactive and not just expecting things to happen is probably the biggest thing I've taken away from promoting fights. And that's in different areas of the actual business.
And mate, let's talk about the actual fights. The main and co-main stick out the most for me. I know there's some sneaky bangers that you're going to slide in there too. But first, I want your thoughts on booking Marwan Rahiki, who is going to compete for your featherweight title. It was announced seconds after he won the Hex featherweight title, which means it was already booked prior to that.
Man, it was booked. It was booked before I knew that he was fighting for the Hex title.
Really?
It was booked before that. I knew he was fighting on Hex, but I didn't know he was fighting for a title. That's when I booked that fight. Like, it was booked ages before that. The only reason it wasn't announced was out of respect for his opponent in Hex. That was it. Like, I'm not out here to upset anyone, like, I would happily fucking let my champs fight in any promotion, except obviously if they fight for Eternals title, they're going to be exclusive and that wrecks everything for everyone. So that's obviously the only issue really in domestic MMA, but it's not an issue, but that will be the only issue for anyone else outside of Eternal, is that once they win the belt, they can't then come back and defend yours. But it was booked like 6 weeks out or something. And then I knew Marwan was booked to fight Sam. I didn't realize it was a title fight until I already had it signed, I think, or at least verbally agreed to. And then I seen the announcement from Hex and it was like featherweight title. And I was like, oh, well, fuck, I'm going to upset someone here. So yeah, it was already booked. And, I suppose on one hand, we've got a job to do, which is promote fights, and we probably could have put it out there earlier, but we thought we would just try our best to do the right thing by Hex. They had a fight to promote and a show to promote, and we didn't want to take any shine off that. And also, Marwan and his team wanted to show some respect to Sam Kakembo and not make it look like they're looking past him. But let's be honest, like, every fighter's looking past anyone standing in front of them, like they all say, oh, I'm not looking past this guy, but fuck off, you're not. You're looking at the UFC, so of course you're looking past him. Even if you're not looking at the next guy, you're looking at the end goal every time you go in there to fight. So every time we fight like we're going to win. We fight like we're going to win and we're going to move on to bigger things. And, so it is what it is. But, like, they just wanted to show some respect to their opponent, and we just worked with them for that. And obviously we could have announced it the next day, but why hold out?
Nah, it was cool. I liked it. But why, in the sense of, even if it wasn't a title fight, say he loses to Sam, doesn't that kind of
upset? Yeah, I would have announced it the next morning.
But then he's like, he's fighting for your title, and he just
lost. That's a risk I took.
And did you upset anyone?
I don't think so.
So no messages?
No. Well, I mean, I get along with the guys at Hex. I tried to call them a couple of times. We went back and forth, phone tag, and we just didn't quite get a hold of each other. So it is what it is. And, Marwan's team had spoke to them anyway, so they already knew about it. So yeah, it wasn't like a secret. I'm surprised you hadn't announced it as a rumor, to be honest.
Well, Adam,
did you not know about it?
Do you think I announce everything I know?
Well, there you go. You knew about it. So, but
why do you think I got it out so quickly?
Yeah, it's just we just wanted to be respectful, and I got a show to run. But let's be honest. Like, he's from Sydney, and he's probably not selling a ton of tickets up here. Hey, he actually has done all right, but so it's not going to have a massive impact on my show. And it was still like 6 weeks out anyway or something. So it doesn't matter. We just try to do the right thing by everyone.
And obviously you want champions in your organization that like constantly defend their belts. But is there also a trade-off with, hey, if I give this guy the belt and he wins it, obviously I'm not looking past Gabriel, but in this question I am. But if he wins and then goes on to the UFC, that still helps the belt with sort of prestige?
I think we've had this conversation before about titles, and it's something like 97% of Australian titles never get defended. So what's the point worrying about him defending it?
But surely you want him to.
I mean, it'd be nice, but I certainly also, like, I genuinely am in the sport to elevate it. Like if he wins my belt and goes to the UFC, it's good for me. But getting to the UFC is good for him. And if he doesn't get to the UFC this time, he'll probably defend the Hex belt on August 30 if they want to put him on again. So because he likes to stay busy. And then, you know, I got a card in November. So maybe he stays busy all year till he gets his opportunity. But, you know, I hope for his sake he wins my title. They wanted a quick turnaround so they could get another fight before the middle of the year. You know, that's what they got. So, you know, if he goes on to the UFC, I think it's good for him. It's good for the sport. It's definitely good for Australian MMA. And then my title just becomes one of the 97% that have never been defended. Who cares? It's just a trophy.
Well, talk about Gabriel, because he's the forgotten man. Talk about like how much of a hill this very much could be for Marwan.
Well, let's be honest. He's 6-1. He's only lost to Seb Zile, right? By decision, like everyone. And Seb's like fighting in Road to the UFC second round. You know, and it was in the 4-man for the Eternal Featherweight title. So, you know, his only loss came in like a title tournament. And he's a real threat on the ground. He's got good boxing. I think it's a good fight. I think if he can mix his strikes up and, you know, we know all the Brazilians, they like to fight. So slightly unhinged, gets amongst it, gets a good timing on his takedown and can try and take Marwan down and be on top, then I think we got a fight on our hands. You know, everyone wanted to question Marwan going past the first round last time. Everyone wanted to question his jiu-jitsu. I think he fucking probably answered a fair few questions in that last fight. I really thought he was 1 or 2 calf kicks away from maybe getting stopped, but turns out that wasn't the case either. So, you know, he's got the metal in him. He's got the submission game. He's got the takedown defense game. Like he's got it all. So, you know, if Gabriel can put it together and get on top, then we get to answer a few other questions.
I love the Marwan fight versus Gabriel. I think it's nice, but the Give You All My Money is the greatest fight, the fan fight of all time. I feel like it is for the BMF title, the Australian BMF title, Michael Barber versus Dimps Skillies. How do you explain that to someone who doesn't know just how cool that fight is going to be?
Man, if Hex and Eternal would let me use their highlight reels of those guys, we would put together the fucking best promo video you have ever seen in your life. Those two guys are forward pressure fighters. They never take their foot off the gas. And unless one of them goes to sleep, we will get an absolute classic as far as Australian MMA goes. And, you know, like Michael Barber, like talk about not taking your foot off the gas. I mean, how many times he knocks someone out in the third round? Like he just keeps coming. He never stops. Like it's actually exhausting to watch the way he fights. You know, and Dimps has had those classics with like Josh and Blood Diamond back in the day, which was a fucking wild fight in New Zealand. Like, so you know, it's like if you want to watch MMA for MMA, you know, and you're not like, I just want to watch the next guy be so skillful that he's clean and never gets hit and he's going to make it to the UFC next fight. If you want to watch MMA for MMA, like what MMA was built on, the foundation of the fighters that built this sport to what it is today, that's the fucking fight you got to watch. The co-main event. There's a reason why it's a co-main event. I mean, one of the guys is 6 wins, 9 losses and 1 7 and 5. Like most promoters will put it like first or second pro fight on the card. To me, that just screams like violence, bloodbath, just two warriors doing their thing and reminding people why we have the great sport that we have today. And as long as one of them don't go to sleep in the first minute, that's exactly what we're going to get. But we could also get that. Either way, we're going to get a highlight.
Yeah. Did you reach out to any of the promotions to get their highlight reels, and have you done that before?
I didn't. There's other promotions that do it. I didn't. I'd be very surprised if Eternal wanted to share that footage.
Oh, yeah, but there's no chance in hell. But like, I just thought if you gave it a shot.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
And who do you think has the upper hand in that Dimps versus Barber fight? Like, who do you think would be coming in even publicly as the favorite?
Well, I mean, I think publicly, if someone wanted to put some odds on it, Dimps just fought for the Eternal title. It's a pro boxing background as well. You know, hasn't been knocked out as many times. I don't know. Like I personally wouldn't pick a favorite. I think it's fucking it's like a flip of a coin, really. But I think if I was a bookie and I had to pick a favorite, you'd give a slight favorite to Dimps, probably just based on, you know, record and the way that fights have been lost, and the pro boxing experience. But like again, I wouldn't personally pick a favorite. I wouldn't even bet on that fight. Like that's a fight that you just don't bet on. Like you don't look at those two guys and go,
Yeah.
well, I can really see how like they could put this game plan together. It's just not gonna happen. The game plan goes out the window when the first bell goes and the fans win.
Do you have like an extra ambulance there waiting because you know they're both just going to be going straight to the hospital?
No, Queensland ambulance service is real fast. We have two doctors on site. We'll be sweet.
Nice. Now, mate, other fights that people might not be hyping up as much. What's standing out for you the most?
Man, John Brew and Matt Fordham. You know, I think Matt Fordham's 2-0. He's got quite the vocabulary, as many would have seen on our last video we posted. I think, you know, John Bruin's 8-4, came from CKB, now training in Bali. Matt Fordham's 2-0, was also 7-0 as an amateur, BJJ black belt. He showed that if he takes you to the ground, you're going to have like a long and arduous night trying to escape the positions. And, you know, I think as a pro, when you're one or two fights in, it can be a little bit of an adjustment to deal with those 5-minute rounds. But, you know, all the guys from Ignite, they're super happy to take hard fights. So, you know, Matt's got something to prove, and I think that'll motivate him. And he's back in Australia. Last time he made his pro debut, he fought out here on like 3 weeks' notice, and I flew him from the UK. So he's been out here living, training full time again at Ignite, and I think that you know, he's got something to go in there and prove against a veteran who's probably got a new lease on life as far as the sport goes, because he's changed camps and moved to New Zealand moved to Bali to train with some of the other guys from New Zealand, and you know, he's a bit reinvigorated himself. So I think it's a pretty exciting fight. And the other good pro fight, I mean, we got a few, but I think Jonas Grace and Toby Sang making their middleweight debuts together is an exciting fight. Toby Sang is super hard to match. You know, admittingly, there was people that would take the fight, but the timing was always terrible. You know, like we wanted to make some of the amateur fights for him, but like Ramadan got in the way, and there was always like a hurdle. So they made the decision to go pro. And he's been, you know, he's obviously from Integrated MMA. He's also been training with me, and a little bit, just doing some extra classes on top of his full-time training. And Jonas is from Dunedin. Tall, rangy, jiu-jitsu, good jiu-jitsu, front chokes, and Toby likes to be on the ground. So I'd expect that to be, you know, like a high-level middleweight grappling matchup, which we haven't typically seen in the pro ranks a lot. We see like, I mean, I don't want to promote someone else's show, but last weekend's middleweight title fight was fucking sick.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a whole lot of grappling going on in that thing. So I think we're going to get like the opposite to that out of that fight with those two guys. And that'll be exciting to watch. And then like, you know, we've got a stacked card. We've got 16 fights. But an amateur fight, I think that's going to be a cracker, which is the main amateur fight we got is Declan Kokorin versus Thomas Shellhammer. So like that's going to be a crazy good fight. So if people want to watch it on DAZN's YouTube channel. So obviously our undercard's still on YouTube. It's just on DAZN's YouTube. That'll be that's free and it'll be an absolute barn burner. We've got 10 amateur fights. So that'll be a good 2.5, 3 hours of amateur fights to watch. And that'll headline that undercard there.
What's the Beatdown Promotions YouTube channel doing?
We post all the fights up like 24 hours later.
Cool.
Yeah.
And are tickets still available? What's going on?
Yep. So you can get tickets to the show at beatdownpromotions.com.au. There's tickets still there. Actually, super exciting. After the 10th show, we got rid of 15 tables and we brought in VIP seating areas where you can buy tickets with drinks. So, we've got more general admission. It was the best way to increase our seat, like our numbers, attendee numbers. So yeah, we've got the 8 tables and 10 dry bars, but now we've added a whole bunch of seats. So we've got seats available, standing sold out already. It's a good card. I think on paper, it might be the best card all round we put together. We've had some cracking fights over the first 10 events. And we've had some big fighters have big moments over the first 10 events. But as far as a top to bottom card goes, I think we put together one of our best, and I'm pretty excited for it. And I'm looking forward to the show selling out next week, and I'm looking forward to 16 barn burners and another opportunity to elevate the sport to potentially a different crowd on DAZN. So that'll be good.
And of course, pay-per-view on DAZN streaming.
It's not a pay-per-view; it's a subscription base. So
it's a pay-per-view. I buy it, then I cancel it.
So like if you buy it and you cancel it, you pay $30 for your month, but it's only like 15 if you just sign up. So
yeah, but that's an honor. I pay $30 just to watch the show, mate. I don't watch anything else on there.
Well, you should watch everything else on there.
I'm sure it's great.
Boxing on there?
Oh, mate, I'm so flooded with all of it. Like, it's hard enough to keep up with Australian MMA, let alone I can't even keep up with the UFC because it's like I'm too busy
releasing magazines and stuff. I'm not sure now, brother. Yeah. Anyway, it's so our pro cards on DAZN.com and our undercards on DAZN sports YouTube channel. So people can check it out there. There's tickets available at beatdownpromotions.com.au and like us on social media, Beatdown Promos on Instagram, Beatdown Promotions on Facebook, and give us some love.
Awesome, mate. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the red carpet being rolled out for me when I roll in.
Oh, you know it.
Isn't the whole thing red carpet?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. All right, mate. I'll see you there and best of luck.
I'll get you a room at the Grand Ballroom.
Love it, bro.